Okay, so for starters, I am not sponsored by Monster Clutches at all. I came out of pocket on all this stuff. I don't have any sponsorships whatsoever. No one's paying for my videos, none of that. So just to get that out of the way, I went ahead and ordered a Monster Stage 3. It holds up to around 700 pound-feet of torque. And then I also got some Siemens Deca 80-pound injectors. And then I have a 3-bar map. So these are the final pieces of the puzzle to put the Miata back together. So all I have to do right now is rip the engine out, do the cam, do the valve springs, just make sure everything's in order. Then we could go ahead and bolt this guy on, bolt up the trans, slap it all back together for the final assembly, finish up the exhaust, and we can give it a test fire. So let's go ahead and get started on it. The cam and valve springs are all in and the engine is in time. So during the process I dropped 2 lifters, and I was actually pretty lucky because I didn't have to pull the heads in order to get them back in. One of them was towards the rear of the block, so I actually went through the valley in order to put it back in. And then one of them was on the second cylinder. So the way I got to that one is I grabbed one of my TIG rods, bent it around the lifter, and then fed the lifter down through where the cam goes, and then got it semi-aligned with the hole, reached up underneath the crank, and was able to push it in that way. So I lucked out with that, but moving right along, I have the factory dipstick sitting on my spare 6-liter that I'm going to build. And I have it sitting on here because I was testing fitment. As you can see, I cut it and welded it in numerous spots. And then I have the oil pan for that 6-liter sitting right here. And I have it tapped, ready to go for the oil drain, and also the fitment over the pickup is pretty good. So we have it sitting perfectly on the block. Mind you, the gasket isn't in place, so it still has 3/16, but right now it's about 1/4 inch from hitting the bottom of the pan. So that's absolutely perfect. And now we get the luxury of cleaning the engine bay, scuffing it up, repainting it. And then I have some high temp engine enamel for the block and some aluminum paint for the heads and the covers. So this will really clean up the engine and make it look pretty new, even though it has 400,000 miles on it. Yeah, let me go ahead and stop and we'll get started on this hideous engine bay. So let's get it. All right, don't mind the messy garage. The front timing cover's on, the oil pan's on, the valley cover's on. I'm not putting on the valve covers yet because I'm going to repaint them, and then if I lift it up with the hoist, it's just going to scratch them all up like it did when I removed it. So plus I still have to tighten down the rockers. They're just pretty much hand tight right now, so still got to do that. The clutch is in. Then I have this Howie throwout bearing. It came with these shims, so just got done shimming that and putting the trans together. So it's super close to the pressure plate, but it's not touching. And then what else? I guess it's time to throw it back in the car. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll pick you guys right back up. All right, guys, so the engine's inside the car. I just have to clean off the front of it before I start bolting everything onto it. But I was doing the exhaust wrap on the crossover, and I wanted to show you guys a little something. So these were the naturally aspirated manifolds I had on the car. All it is truck manifolds flipped forward with a oxygen sensor bung welded to them and a V-band welded to them. Nothing special. I left the heat shield tabs on them. So as you can see, they're all right here underneath the heat wrap, and it just looks really tacky. And also the EGRs on here, which I never liked in the first place because it puts it super close to the frame rail and it makes it difficult to get out of the car. So I tried something different this time around on the turbo manifolds, and I pretty much cut them all off and ground them down. I was left with a hole right here, a hole obviously right here for the EGR, and a hole right here. Now, the way I'm going to solve this is I have a washer that fits nice right inside there, so that's going to take up a lot of the surface area to where I don't have to pack it that much with weld. And then same thing with right here, I ground down this washer to where it fits the rough shape of the hole. And then also I had a piece of exhaust that I just cut and modified to go right inside there. So I'm really happy I did this. It took quite a long time to do, but the result should look really nice when it's all said and done. So let me go ahead and get these things welded up and ground down, and then I'll show you before I wrap them. And then obviously I'll show you guys what it looks like after I wrap them. But yeah, give me a second. All right, we're back. So here's where the EGR was. It's completely capped off. There's where the hole was, and then we come down here, that's where the other hole was at. So pretty happy with how it came out. Now I'm going to wrap them. Okay, everything's heat wrapped, so let's go ahead and take a look at how everything turned out. Came out really nice. Really happy with how everything laid. Sorry, I'm like lacking the light, but yep. The only spot that I missed is like right down here, but it's okay. It's gonna be on the backside, so majority of it's covered. But yeah, let's go ahead and throw this on the engine. Okay, I'm on the home stretch of getting everything fit just to make sure it's going to work. And I just got done doing the coolant lines, so you can tell they're right there and come up underneath there. And then the only thing that really worries me is the wideband. It's pretty close to the water pump, so I was thinking about re-drilling it because I put this at a different angle, because if you remember, it dropped right down there because I thought I was getting a different alternator bracket, but that didn't work out because it sat way too high. So I put the alternator down there, fed the exhaust all the way to the back, and this is where it clocked it as soon as I rotated the dump in front of the sway bar. So I'm just going to run this back along right here to the intake air temperature sensor and then feed it back through the harness that way. So hopefully it's not going to hit. And then the belt is pretty close to this coolant line. You can see it right there, but I pulled on it a little bit and it seems like it's going to have enough room, so I'll keep an eye on that as well. And then for the exhaust, it came out pretty good. Have it right there. And then it goes up over the diff all the way to the front, so plenty of clearance underneath the car. And yeah, the only thing I have to do is some wiring for the wideband and the electric dump underneath the dash, and then we could go ahead and finish everything else off. So let's get to it. Okay, I just got done doing the wiring harness, so everything's plugged in. All I have to do is disconnect each coil so the engine won't start, just so we could get some oil circulating through the engine. And then I'll go ahead and plug them back in and fire it up like this, just to clear out anything in the exhaust so we don't send it through the turbo. And then I'll turn it off, unplug the coils again with the turbo on, just to get oil circulating through the turbo. Then we'll go ahead and plug the coils back in and fire it up with the turbo. So I'll go ahead and put the phone down and we'll get to it. About see if it's getting oil pressure, boy. Make sure this thing fills up. Has to pump it through the whole line. So let's see. Injectors are skilled, mass airflow, or not the mass airflow, the map sensor skilled, so theoretically it should start.
Let's see if this pig's gonna do it.